Welcome to Twig, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show that tackles everything from Game Informer's return to today's special Switch event with some video games in between. I am Nerd Pastor Nate. I'm really the pastor of Checkpoint Church, a real-life church online designed with nerds, geeks, and gamers in mind. If you're listening on the podcast version of the show, be sure to go give us a good review. Click that like if you're watching us over on YouTube, or come and listen live on Twitch and YouTube every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Folks, we're going to be starting, as we always do, with our What You Been Watching, Playing, and Reading. And we're going to have our special Level 2 guest of the night introduce themselves and then tell us what they've been watching and playing and reading to kick us off.
Hello, I'm DGC, fellow member Checkpoint. I've been watching Hormia, Silent Voice, Persona 3 stage play, streams, and YouTube. Playing War Metaphor, and I've been reading for the Luke X study.
Nice. Yeah, over on the Discord. I've been super jealous about the Persona 3 stage play. Is it good?
Yeah, it's
That
actually
seems fun.
pretty good. I enjoy
it.
So when I watched the first part, I like the new stuff they added, but the issue is they go straight to the first boss fight, the magician fight.
I don't waste any time. Yeah, this slice of life elements always tend to get cut out of things, and I imagine in a stage play it would really get cut out of things. I know there's an Ace Attorney musical that I've always wanted to watch too.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm gonna check those out and have fun with them because it's some of my favorite things anyway, and I feel like it's got to be a good time. I have been watching a couple things on YouTube as well. I have started a couple new Let's Plays. Barry was streaming, has started playing Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain. And so I've already watched that one once before, but I feel like Barry's perspective on it will be fun. So watching that. And then a streamer called Bunnytail is playing Shin Megami Tensei 5, which I never actually have not played to this point. I've never played any of the SMT games. And so watching that one, and I think that I'm good. It looks good enough. It's interesting enough, but it definitely doesn't have the anime slice of lifey tropes that I think I want from my Persona game. But, it's fun to watch. And then I finally got to watch Mickey 17, the latest movie, from the director behind Parasite, as well as starring Robert Pattinson. And I will say, the more movies that I have seen with Robert Pattinson, the less I know what he sounds like. I have no idea what he just normally sounds like. Maybe I need to watch more red carpet events where he just talks in his normal voice, but every movie that I see him, every thing that he appears in, he has a completely and dramatically different voice. It's so bizarre to me. Playing wise, I just wrapped up my time with Tribe 9. I enjoyed it. It's a good gacha. I think for a gacha game from people that don't make gacha games, such as Uchikoshi and Kodaka, it is pretty good. However, I just don't have time for that mess in my life. It takes up way too much time and does not feel like it's getting any progress. So I dropped it, but it was a good time while it lasted. I did pick up Moonstone Island, which I'm getting a couple of hours into. It's very fun, a nice breath of fresh air kind of cozy sim that I'm not minding right now. And then I will probably end up picking up Atomfall next. I haven't quite yet decided, but that's what I'm leaning towards right now. And I'm reading Infinite Fates and enjoying it well enough. Going to start Will of the Many pretty soon for our book club. And also just finished reading the manga Tokyo Alien Bros. And I don't remember the name of the one I just started. What's it called? Reanima. Started Reanima. It's okay. It actually kind of reminds me of Mickey 17, which is a funny turn of events there. But that's what I've been getting into. Looks like Lizzie has shared in the chat there. Not reading much. Playing Luck Be a Landlord, Carcassonne, Mystic Vale, and The Sims. And procrastinating going home and pondering a Dungeons and Dragons and Discernment event. Very cool. That sounds super duper fun. All right, well, let's get into some of the news for tonight, some of the trending headlines and things that are going on. We'll start with one that I truly did not expect hit out of left field, in my opinion. Game Informer is officially back after being shut down by GameStop in August 2024. I mean, that's Not a very long time, but here it is. It's back under new owner Gunzilla Games, the studio behind the free-to-play battle royale Off the Grid. In an announcement from editor-in-chief Matt Miller, the team confirmed that not only is Game Informer returning, but so is its entire editorial staff, now operating under the independent entity Game Informer Inc. Gunzilla, co-founded by filmmaker Neil Blomkamp, has promised full editorial independence and for the revived publication. The team is wasting no time launching with fresh reviews, their Best of 2024 awards, and plans for expanded video, streaming, and feature coverage. The print magazine will also return in the future with improvements in the works. Membership benefits are rolling out soon, including early access to archives and exclusive content, marking a new era for the 30-year-old gaming outlet. Again, just did not expect this one. Really came out of nowhere. I feel like they haven't been gone long enough to have any kind of like grand return. But a good and needed resource. I'm always a fan of more journalism and more things coming out there. And I think this is honestly, it kind of reminds me of whenever X-Play came back, only I think that maybe this one will go a little better because I think it's a little bit more bringing on the whole editorial staff, independent, doing it a little bit more correctly, whereas that one didn't really work. Any thoughts on this one from you, DGC?
I think it's interesting that they were even able to bring it back. No, I didn't follow Game Informer as I was more so for Nintendo Power, but I think this is pretty neat that they were able to bring it back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how their marketing goes because the thing about Game Informer was like if you were a GameStop goer, it like you didn't really have a choice. It was kind of foisted upon you.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted your GameStop membership, they would be like, "Do you want the Game Informer shipped to you? It's free. Get it. Just get it delivered to your house." Like they would always push it so hard. So, yeah, I don't think I ever got Game Informer by choice, but then eventually I wound up enjoying it. So I don't know if it's a Stockholm situation or not, but I subscribe to them. I am officially on the newsletter via my email, so I'll be getting news and hearing about them. And actually, our next article that I am sharing in the show notes is from them. So. Cool, good news for them. Glad to see jobs being restored. That's always good news.
Yes.
All right, well, our next one is just going to be a look through the Nintendo Direct that happened today. So it's March 27th. Out of nowhere, Nintendo yesterday announced that they would be having a Nintendo Direct, kind of a swan song going out for the Switch 1 before next week's Switch 2. So a lot of things were announced. A lot of things were shared. And I think there are mixed opinions, mixed thoughts, as there always are. Welcome into Humor Wit Ill. That is one of our mixed opinions in the Discord. And I think that amongst everyone, the directs, I have such a qualm with gamers. I feel like they can never be pleased. But I, for one, was like, I felt like this was made for me the first like 10 minutes of the stream. So they start off with this like stinger roll of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake, which we already knew about, but it's cool to see them. And then it was like game after game after game that were like Nerd Pastor Nate games. So we got an AI the Somnium Files is getting a third game in the trilogy, which I don't think I knew nothing about, and I follow, those games pretty religiously. I follow Uchikoshi, to say the least, so a big deal. I'm very excited about it. It looks like it's set in a space station, and it looks like they're bringing back a lot of the cast from the first game, whereas the second one kind of diverged a little bit from the main plot. So I'm super excited. It honestly reminded me of Zero Escape, and so I wonder if Uchikoshi is more involved with this one because it looked... maybe it was just because of the low poly, but it kind of reminded me of like a DS game. And so I got the vibe of like the rotoscoping kind of adventure of 9 persons, 9 hours, 9 doors. But that was an interesting start. And then they went straight from that into a remaster of a game that I have never even heard of, let alone played, Rido maybe, which is from Atlas. And it looked like an Atlas game. And I'm super amped about it. I will for sure be playing it. I think that any opportunity that I can get to get more Atlas in my life, kind of like I was talking about with SMT5, I've always wanted to play it. It's just kind of been one of those back burner games. But this is one that I didn't even know existed, and now I plan on playing fully. Then there was Shadow Labyrinth, which was the Pac-Man game that is like from the secret level show where Pac-Man is a big giant monster, like kaiju monster, and it's a Metroidvania with Pac-Man as your little like floating around friend, and I loved it, like 10 out of 10. Then we got Patapon 1 and 2 announced that they were re-releasing those two games, and then Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar, and then Metroid Prime 4. Like it was like boom, boom, boom. These are all Nate's games. And then we had a bit of a lull with Disney. I don't care much about Disney. I'm not necessarily the Disney adult type. But it was a coffee talk variant with Disney villains. So sure, why not? Still kind of Nate coded. Then we had Witchbrook, which is the latest one from Chucklefish, which is the witch version of Stardew Valley, essentially, coming this holiday. I've been keeping an eye on this game for a long time as it's been in development, and it was exciting to see it. And then we got another Metroidvania with the Eternal Life of Goldman, which is where you're an old man that does Metroidvania stuff. And so, like, every game that I've named so far, with the exception really being Disney because I don't really care much, but it was a coffee talk variant. Like literally every single game was so Nate coded that I was like, I feel like they made this direct for me. This is just for me. This is especially my direct. So that was how everything started off. And we got another couple exciting announcements in there, but I have talked enough. DGC, what were some of the games that stood out to you?
Oh, okay. Well, you cover most of them, except for like Rhythm Heaven. That, oh my goodness, my
Came out of nowhere.
I was left speech. Like I was so earlier today. I had my eye doctor's appointment, and I was sitting there waiting for the doctor, and watching this, and my jaw dropped because at first I didn't even know what this was because I had gotten into the series very late with
Mm-hmm.
Mega Mix. Even then, I only was able to play the demo because our finances weren't good back then. But but when I saw the title, I was left speechless.
Yeah, it's really
And then of
exciting.
course, yes. And then Tomodachi Life. That was another thing that blew me away. I enjoyed that game on the back on the 3DS, and that's for getting a new one. That's just
Yeah.
nuts.
So I never played Tomodachi Life, so I have no connection with it. But I remember it was all over YouTube. It was very hyped whenever it came out. So I think that maybe this will be my entry point into it. But I will say I thought it was a really cruel tease because they have kind of Animal Crossing esque voices, and it started on like a beach, which reminded me of the most recent Animal Crossing New Horizons, which I think also started on a beach. And so I was like, are they doing a new Animal Crossing? And then they weren't. And so as excited as I am for fans of this series, I was a little teased. I was a little sad.
I imagine that if they were going to show off a new Animal Crossing, they would wait until next week.
You're not wrong. It was, but it was like the one more thing at the end of the show. And so I was like, what's the one more thing going to be? It was everything was the perfect concoction. And then they were like, but this is a game that people are wanting. It's just not me. But again, the first half of the show was custom made for me. So I can't complain too much.
Yeah, this direct was very interesting. I would say it's like it was weird, but like in a good way.
Hmm.
And there's also a couple of interesting stuff work games, like the virtual card thing. I think that was pretty interesting, and
Yeah, those.
especially for someone who like has family members who have other
Mhm.
switches. So that will definitely make game sharing a lot easier for me.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm intrigued by it. We had a little bit of a quick debate over on Discord about it, and I don't know what to think about it because, on one hand, I just finished setting up my daughter's Switch. She just got her first ever Switch Lite, and like it was a nightmare. Figuring out which account has to be the main account and which one has to be the like guest account so that you can play the games. And some games you can only play over Wi-Fi if you're the guest account, and if you share them, even if you're in the same drive, like it was like a mess. And so
Yes,
the
and it's
idea
even worse because you have to sign in every time in
every
order.
time.
There are times Yeah, it's a pain, especially for me because I have my email set to my old iCloud account,
Mm,
and the thing, and unfortunately, I do not remember the password for that, so it makes it very difficult for me to be able to sign in on different accounts. So having this is such a blessing,
yeah.
even though yeah, even though yes, you can only give it out one per Switch, and it only goes out for like 2 weeks, but that's fine.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
I
interesting
still
some of the other things that they threw in towards the end where it was like can be shared between two accounts, but then it also mentioned like family accounts that it could be between 10 and but it didn't sound like it could be between like it was weird the rules that they have set in place of like how to do what, when, where. And I think that they even mentioned that still it's not an internet connection thing. And so like if I'm at work and Nora wanted at home to play a game, I would have to come home to do it over the local network instead of over the internet itself. So it's got its quirks. It's going to be irritating. It's going to be Nintendo. Like they're always going to do some subtly annoying things, but I don't mind the idea of a virtual card in and of itself. I think it's a fun way of doing it. And then yeah, it's a 14-day loan. I feel like this is they are doing exactly what Steam did like 8 years ago. Like they're almost a decade behind how Steam used to do the borrowing thing. Where you could have an approved
oh
account and you would send a game at a time, and they could have it, I think, for 90 days, and then it would revert or something like that. It was some fancy rule. And now the way they've got it, Steam has updated twice since then. And the most recent one is you have to be added to a family account. But Steam is cool because you get access to the entire library. Um, and so if you share a library, then you get all of it. Just end of story. There's no borrowing one at a time or anything like that. So it's bizarre. I don't know why they're doing it the way they're doing it. At first, I wondered, is this like their way of combating like piracy? But I don't think that this has anything to do with that. I don't think it's going to stop people from doing any particular thing. It's not really that convenient, but it feels like it's perfect for a very specific scenario. Somebody is really going to
and
love this.
yeah, and I do think this is a good step in the right direction. And then they just need like to iron out some things, and I think it would be
Yeah.
good.
At least to acknowledge that they're doing something is a pretty good step that I'll take. The other unexpected thing was they announced a new app. They brought in like Miyamoto. He came out. That's a big surprise. I was like, what? They don't normally bring out old Shigeru for just anything, but he came out and talked about a new app called
Yeah,
Nintendo Today, which is their like Nintendo Direct daily app. Supposedly it is launching today. I don't know if it's out yet or not. I haven't had a chance to check since
it
I left
is.
for work. It is
Yeah.
out. Okay. So I don't know what it does.
Mhm.
But you have to log in with your Nintendo account. It did not sound like you have to have a Nintendo paid account. You just have to have an account in
No.
general to log in. And I don't know what's going to be on there. It's just going to have news and things on there. So for somebody that writes for Twig every week, like I'm on board. Cool. Why not? I would love to have access to the Nintendo news directly so that I can access them. Especially if I can do like today and this point in nerd history, that kind of stuff. Like, sure, maybe they'll utilize it for that aspect. Yeah,
That
unexpected,
would be very
unexpected,
helpful.
very unexpected things. I
Yes,
feel like next week, obviously, is the Switch 2 announcement, and I have a
I'm
feeling
excited.
that this is going to be a lot of the like that's where a lot of the heavy hitters are going to come as far
Hmm.
as the like rumor mill, the leaks, the stuff that it's going to be, AAA games are going to be coming to the Switch. Like that's going to be where that happens. Whereas they would have made sense at this one, except for the fact that it would have then revealed a little bit too much. I will say,
Yeah, there's
encouraging.
actually a few.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. There's
You're fine.
actually a few that I was actually a bit surprised that weren't here, like the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, the rumored
Mm.
Fire Emblem remake, the rumored Robot remaster. It's just very strange.
Yeah, it was definitely different. I was encouraged by the fact that unless I just misunderstood, I mean, some of the games that were announced today were announced for 2026, and
There were two, and that
the
was Rhythm
reality
Heaven and Tomodachi Life.
the reality is like this was the Switch Direct. This was not the Switch 2 Direct. So that means they at least plan on supporting the Switch for another year, which is, I think, good news for people that aren't quite ready to make that switch and that swap. I remember the 3DS fiasco with the 3DS and the new 3DS and all the mess that they made with those. And like, they just did not want to make that jump. So I'm very curious to know if that's very similar to what they do here, where they just kind of don't know what to do about getting to the next generation, but maybe they'll have Switch 2 games and then they'll have Switch 1/Switch 2 games. And it'll be very similar to that era in the DS. So curious, very curious. We also got a couple random announcements there. We got a new beat 'em up type game from Marvel, maybe made from the same people as TMNT. I couldn't necessarily tell. I didn't see the team behind it, but a fun pixel, beat 'em up game that seems pretty fun. And then we got a longer look at Pokemon ZA. So I was excited for that. A little bit of a look into some of the stuff that they're doing. I kept memeing in the chat because they kept saying the same thing over and over again, where they were like, when the sun goes down, the aura changes. Or night falls. When the night falls, the aura changes. And so now I've decided that's going to be something that I say all the time. I might get it tattooed on my body. When the night falls, the aura changes, because it was just absurd how many times they said that. And like, they really want you to know that there's going to be two different like segments to this game. One where you do the normal adventure stuff, and then another where it's like a challenge mode. But it was hilarious. I'm excited for ZA. Obviously, Legends is one of my favorite games. I loved Arceus so much, and I think this one's going to be even better in all the ways that I want it to be. So I will take any deeper look that I can get. Knuckle tattoos, absolutely.
Same here.
Said so many letters. Night falls, aura changes. That's like 3 letters per knuckle. That's quite a bit. That's great. So yeah, that was the Nintendo Direct. Any other things that you wanted to call out from it there at DGC before we look into the next thing?
No, not really.
I think that's about everything that I had to say. Do let us know in the chat if you had anything else that you wanted to call out from the Switch Direct. I don't know, y'all. I just think it was good. I think it was a good Direct. I feel like my problem, and this is quick, Nate's Hot Takes rant, I don't know what people want from Directs and State of Plays and the Xbox, whatever they used to do. I feel like they want every game to be for them all of the time. And I just don't know what to do. I try to think about it in the spectrum of like, how many games do they have for how many different types of people? And like, this one didn't have things for, we never mentioned Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime 4. So this game had FPS. It had slice of life. It had like farming games. It had a Pokemon game. It had 2 apps and things they were announcing. Like, I feel like it had a lot of different things for a lot of different people, and a lot of like variety thrown in there. The only thing that I can think of that they didn't show was anything for the racing fans. And so like, I think we have to change our perspective.
Next week.
No, we have to change our perspective on these things and just be like, that was cool. And it doesn't have to be game-changing or life-changing. And I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. It drives me crazy. The same thing with the Game Awards. People give the Game Awards such a hard time, and they're like, there were no Game Awards world premieres that blew my mind. And I'm like, that's okay. That's all right.
Exactly.
Your mind doesn't have to be blown at everyone.
There have been times in Directs that just have not been for me, but other people enjoy. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
Like, I can think of a couple Directs that I have maybe given a 5 or lower, and it has been ones where there were no actual new announcements, or there was the one Direct, I can't remember when it was. It's since Checkpoint, so it has to have been since 2020. But there was one Nintendo Direct where every single announcement was a farming sim. And it was like, it got to the point.
I know what you're talking about. I think that was the partner showcase.
Like, we were laughing on the stream because it was like, next up's going to be another farming sim, and then it would be, and we'd be like, the next one can't be a farming sim, and then it would be. So that one was a bad one. And I love farming sims, but it was too many farming sims. So that's my like ranking system, is like, how many different audiences, how many different niches did this one appeal to? 7, 8, like, good. You got it. Thumbs ups from here. But
Yes.
that's my salty opinion. All right.
This was Nerve Yesterday's Hot Takes.
That's right. Another hot take. If only I could have Nikki edit in the fiery flames across my face to this one. That's what I need to do. Okay, we're going to do our next and last of our trending headlines, which is Dreamhaven. Former Blizzard president Mike Morhaime, Dreamhaven has officially stepped into the spotlight with its first showcase at the Game Awards, unveiling 4 games, including turn-based RPG Sunderfolk out on April 23rd and Wildgate, a space heist FPS. Dreamhaven is also Dreamhaven is also publishing Linked Banner of the Spark, an action RPG launching in May, and Mechabellum, a tactical auto battler. Beyond game development, Dreamhaven is supporting 10 external studios, many led by ex-AAA developers, with investments and mentorship. At GDC, Morhaime emphasized Dreamhaven's commitment to creativity over profit-driven decision-making, highlighting a flexible, iterative approach to game development. While acknowledging the industry's challenges, he remains optimistic, believing that standing out with exceptional experiences is the key to long-term success. Dreamhaven is cautiously researching AI, but isn't implementing it into games yet, and while the team is excited about the Nintendo Switch 2, no details were shared on its role in future releases. Morhaime remains focused on making Dreamhaven a true beacon in gaming, hence their logo down there, aiming to build a reputation for quality and trust among players. So I included this one for one big reason, and that is because I just finished reading Jason Schreier's book, Play Nice, and I could not have told you who Mike Morhaime was before reading that book, and I am so biased towards the guy after that book. He painted him in such a good light, and I think that he is like such an artist's artist and like a game dev's game dev. He was the one that really like butted heads with Bobby Kotick. Like the two of them were having to work together, but they were like the yin and yang at the top of Blizzard during its worst years. And I'm so intrigued by him as a person and what he does now as a developer and as kind of an industry leader. And I already love what they stand for as far as like a game development studio that is supporting other studios and other developers, encouraging investments in the future through people and through money towards what is the future of gaming. I like that he wants to be the beacon. Like I think that's a bit hungry and maybe a bit conceited, but he is an icon after reading that book, even though I didn't recognize his name outside of it. But I think it's exciting to see somebody that is that has been in the industry as long as Mike Morhaime, that is excited to see the future of gaming in his own way. Yeah. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this one, DGC. I kind of picked it because, again, I think that if you haven't read Play Nice, anybody should read Play Nice, and they will definitely get a deeper perspective on this fella and this studio.
Not really.
Yes, that definitely makes sense, but I look forward to hopefully seeing what they bring. I do think it's interesting. They're lumping in kind of with the Game Awards, so there must be some kind of relationship there between Keeley and Morhaime, and so maybe we'll get to see more and more of their stuff and get to hear from him in the future again at Game Awards events and Summer Games Fest, all that kind of stuff. Should be an interesting season ahead. All right. Well, with that, let's get into our ad for today. A quick ad read here. Hey, Checkpoint crew, April is here, and so are some brand new picks for Checkpoint clubs. So whether you love anime or reading books or playing games, we've got something just for you, or maybe 3 things just for you. Our anime club is going to be watching the first season of The Apothecary Diaries, a mix of mystery, palace intrigue, and one seriously clever protagonist. If you love a good whodunit with a dash of historical flair, then this is the one to watch. Our book club is diving into this behemoth, this big old book, this thick book. I can't believe how thick this book is that we chose for this month. The Will of the Many, a gripping fantasy full of political scheming, ancient mysteries, and major brain power. If you like deep lore and powerful storytelling, you will be hooked. I sure hope so, because I'm going to need a hook to get through this beefy mess. Video Game Club is going to be playing a game about digging a hole, which is the name of the game. It's exactly what it sounds like. Why are we digging? How deep can we go? The only way to find out is to grab a shovel and start digging. Join us in Checkpoint Clubs this month. Let's nerd out together. If you want to find the details, go join our Checkpoint Discord. That is discord.gg/checkpointchurch. I look forward to seeing you there. Okay. My voice is going out tonight. I got such a cough. I need this
Oh,
these allergies to leave me alone.
oh, at least it's just allergies. I thought maybe you were starting to get something.
No, it's the craziest thing. So I've been working in the yard a lot this week, and literally the like crack of the driveway where they laid the plank or whatever is just bright yellow with pollen. And so it's driving me
Uh,
up the wall. But yeah, I do appreciate the warmer weather sometimes, but I do not appreciate the blooming flowers um, filling up my nostrils. So that is not my joy. And it also messes my sleep. But alas, we're going to get into our main story instead of ranting and raving about allergies, which I could do for quite a while. So, gamers and geeks and accessibility advocates and even casual lurkers in the game industry should know that we got some big news recently that could make gaming more accessible than ever before. The Entertainment Software Association, or the ESA, just rolled out a massive industry wide initiative that could literally change how we buy and play games. It is called the Accessible Games Initiative. It's all about giving players a clear, standardized way to know what accessibility features a game actually has. It sounds pretty simple and straightforward, but it is actually a huge deal for a lot of gamers out there. So today we're going to be taking a look at it, breaking it down, what it means, who's involved, what games already do this well, and how it fits into our concept of doing good, doing no harm, and striving to grow here at Checkpoint Church. And to help me talk about it is going to be one of our level 2 members, DGC. So welcome in to DGC. Are you involved in this? Are you curious about? I know you brought this up as our theme for tonight. So what has you excited?
yes. So this this very much resonates with me as for someone who has certain disabilities that prevent me from playing games. One of those being my vision.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I ended up inheriting a disease and inheriting retinitis pigmentosa, which unfortunately results in my eyesight uh, getting pretty worse. And over the years, it's been so difficult for me to be able to play certain games. So having some sort of accessibility for for someone like me is just incredible. And not just like here for like vision problems, but I know there are people who have problems hearing. So I know that works very well for those who have those types of problems. Or
Yeah, it covers a wide gamut of things. And for those of you that have followed Able Gamers, or maybe you've been a part of Checkpoint for a while and you know about Steve Spawn's work, there really is a lot that has gone into this, but it has been a hard pressed issue going forward. And so it's been hard for people to get the grassroots to kind of have charities and raise funds so that they can get the word out there and make a real press. But at this point, we have a really large entity making the push. So the basics of this is that the ESA, this is the group behind E3, ESRB ratings, like all sorts of stuff, have announced this accessibility tagging system just recently at GDC, or the Game Developers Conference. Essentially, it is going to be a set of labels, 24 labels, that tell you what kind of accessibility features a game has. So some of these might include, kind of like DGC mentioned, right, like narrated menus or larger text, or for people that use different controllers, full button remapping, colorblind modes, stuff like saving anytime so you don't lose your progress for people that maybe have anxiety or just busy lives or would just need some kind of ability like that. The point is that instead of digging through a game's settings or watching an hour-long review, which is how this has been done heretofore, is you just kind of hope that they provide accessible settings and only find out after somebody does a dive into it. The ESA is hoping that now you can see exactly what a game supports right on the digital store page or packaging. It's not just one company that's going to be pushing this. Because it's the ESA putting their energy behind this, it's a coalition of gaming giants that have signed in on this thing. You have Microsoft and Sony, Nintendo and EA, Ubisoft, Riot Games, Square Enix, Warner Brothers. It's like everybody in the Justice League of gaming is behind this one thing. They're all putting their energy into this initiative, promising to do it, push the initiative forward, and help provide spaces for people to be aware of these things. So it goes along with a kind of ESRB, but instead of just saying what is involved that may be problematic, this is saying what's involved in this game to make it more accessible, to make it better for more gamers to play. And maybe this seems like a kind of like duh moment, like why didn't we do this years ago? But you have to understand that it takes time to move anything, any kind of rock forward in the bureaucracy and in the behemoth of a system. And a lot of people for a long time have really just been trying to find out if they can even play the game at all. And eventually just having to choose to not even play a game in the first place. And so, did you see, you mentioned a little bit of that already, but are there any games that you've had to just like turn away from because you just simply cannot play them?
Easy shooters and 3D platformers
Mm,
and racing games,
yeah, I can imagine. And I think that,
and also 2D platformers as well.
yeah, just some of the depth issues, I'm sure, have to go along with
Hmm.
that. And it can be really challenging whenever you're super excited about a game and you buy it and you learn that they don't have whatever features might be needed. So this is hopefully going to make it, not only is it going to make it more aware of games that are doing this right, but because you have all of these behemoths backing it and saying they will use it, I'm hoping that will encourage developers and especially AAA developers to be more intentional about including these manners of accessibility so that we'll get even more games that get these ratings, that get these tags, and get approved. So, speaking of that, some of the games that are already doing this well, like I mentioned, one of the biggest things about this system is that it's not just adding the new features, it's making it easier to find existing ones and setting a precedent so that other games will do it going forward. But this has been a thing, a hallmark of the Game Awards. They have been championing accessibility in one of their awards that is focused specifically on games that are taking initiative steps forward towards accessibility. And so you can consider The Last of Us Part 2. That's one game that kind of was given a gold standard award of accessibility. It had fully narrated menus. It had haptic feedback for dialogue so that deaf players can feel the emotions. Extensive colorblind, high contrast modes. Whenever you went to the menu, there were over 60 settings that you could fine tune how you might experience the game. And this was because Neil Druckmann wanted people to experience the story in whatever way they might be able to interact with, whatever method they might have to engage with it. That was what was more important than some kind of challenge mode. Or you have something like Forza Horizon 5 with, again, remappable controls, game speed adjustment, which would be huge, narrated menus, colorblind friendly HUD, and sign language interpreters for cutscenes. That was a pretty big deal for that one. Madden 24, which lets you control the whole game using only simple button presses, reads out all the menus. It is there are a lot of people that are doing this in some really interesting ways. And of course, like I said, the Game Awards has been acknowledging them. DGC, have you ever played a game that has had like a standout accessibility setting for you that you have utilized?
Uh, it was back in with Psychonauts 2. As I said before, I am not able to play 3D platformers all that much anymore. However,
Mhm.
they had some features in there that allowed me to be able to play it, which is awesome because that game has a really good story and also deals like with uh, met, that's it deals with psychology, with is one of my favorite fields of learning about.
Mm. Yeah. And I think that it's important for us to hear good stories and good instances of how you were able to interact or people have been able to interact with games in a more accessible way because there has been pushback. There have been people that maybe don't agree with this, maybe more purists behind the ludology of the thing that think that it's the actual playing of the game that makes the difference. And so when it comes to the industry, there are a lot of folks that are very excited about accessibility issues. And there are a lot of advocates who have really been fighting for this for a while because there is pushback. There's concerns about will the developers actually take the cue? Like, will they pick up the note that has been dropped and make their games more accessible? There's also the issue of indie games where they just don't have the team necessarily to apply a lot of accessibility things into their game. Like, think about it like a Stardew, where it's one guy until it got big enough that he could probably afford people to do more of that accessibility work. And so I can speak for myself. I'm not a, game dev in that light, but even when it comes to things with Checkpoint, there are days where it's like, if I want to add metadata to pictures, that's going to take more time out of my whatever I'm doing. And I've only got so much time to do whatever needs to be done. So accessibility gets harder for more independent people. And so that adds in some issues. And so having tools built into things so that they might be able to be more naturally accessible is pretty huge. And they pivot and push the way forward. And this really gets into what we believe here at Checkpoint Church, which is, of course, our 3 rules of doing good, doing no harm, and striving to grow. And so we believe that this is a work, that accessibility is a work of doing good. It is making gaming more inclusive, making it more available for people to experience the stories that I believe are the real reason that I play games. And so it allows for intentional efforts to be made for people to be included in the stories being told instead of excluded from the stories being told. They get to experience the community that comes along with games instead of feeling like they had to be ostracized for yet another thing. So I see this as a good example of how we're doing good and how good is being done in the space. Doing no harm. I think that I mentioned earlier that there have been historically people that have done this work, like they've played through a game just to find out how accessible it is. And then they put it out on their website or on their YouTube video so that people who need to know that information can know that information without having to buy the games for themselves. So now, instead of having to worry about that, we have the ESA, who is already in the trenches of doing this kind of work whenever it comes to trigger warnings and that kind of thing. Now they're also going to be there providing a standardized form of labels and tags that are not going to be confusing, but instead be coherent across the spectrum of needs that people might have for inclusivity. And so it's stopping people from wasting money, but also stopping people from being confused or disappointed whenever they aren't able to experience the game that they might want to. And then by striving to grow, it's a step. Like you said, like it is a step towards something. It is a way of showing the evolution that the gaming industry is taking forward. And this is important for us to note that this is a revolution that has started through grassroots. Like I mentioned Steve Spahn earlier, but I think that he's not the only one. There have been advocates that have paved the way forward, that are gamers and streamers and content creators and just ordinary people who have been pushing for a long time. And it's thrilling to see now that the industry heads and the C-suite have heard the pleas and the cries and the charity fundraisers and the streams and all that, to know that this is an initiative worth backing, worth standardizing, and worth pushing forward. So I love to see all of this for all 3 of those reasons. I think this is as clear cut and as an example as you can have of how we can do good, stop harm from being done, and push forward the industry. Any final thoughts from you there, DGC, before we start wrapping up on this segment?
No, I'm just glad that they're doing this. This is just incredible.
Yes, I totally agree. So if you are enjoying this segment, if you enjoyed it, we want to hear from you. I want to know what are some accessibility features that maybe you needed in a game or an instance that you might have seen where it's been influential in changing someone's experience with a game. Do drop a comment, send us a message, tag us on socials, any of those things. We want to keep that conversation going and hear about particularly how this has been going better for you and how this pivot will make things even better in the future. And if you like what we do here at Twig, don't forget to like, subscribe, check us out on Discord. Accessibility isn't just a tag, it is a core value of what we do. Inclusivity is a part of our very culture that we're building in that space, and we love to have you build it right alongside us. So until next time, this has been our main segment. I am Nerd Pastor Nate. This has been DGC, and we will catch you in our next main segment here on Twig. Okay. And with that, we'll pivot into our favorite game, of course, which is not here. It is here. Cryptic critiques. That's right, it's time for everyone's favorite game, Cryptic Critiques. This is the game of bad reviews for beloved games. I've scoured the internet to find 3 of the funniest bad reviews I could for popular games. I'll deliver them one at a time to our special guest of the week, DGC. Play along with us, see if you can figure it out before we get to clue number 3. But if you are watching live, do remember not to send in your guesses until the guest gets to give their final choice at the end of the 3rd prompt. DGC, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, let's get into it with our first prompt here. This is a long one, so buckle down. Step 1,
Oh dear.
B button for menu. Step 2, 3 analog clicks to the right. Step 3, A button to select skills. Step 4, 3 analog clicks to the right. Step 5, a button to bring up health character. Step 6, a button to select a healing spell. Step 7, a button to select use. Step 8, 1 to 3 analog clicks to the right to select a character to heal. Step 9, A button to heal. Step 10, 4 B buttons to get out of all the menus and back into the game. That is the first bad review.
I think I have an idea what this might be.
Okay, just from that. So this must have been an impact that you share with this reviewer. Let's see if the second one, I have a feeling you'll get this meme, but it gave me a good chuckle. This is not the real Matt Pat. This is a bit of a meme that happens on Backlogged where somebody has the account that's called Matt Pat. And so the comment is, yeah, the Pope didn't like this one too much.
I'm not sure.
Did that throw you off the scent more than help you?
Yeah.
All right. So Matt Pat says, yeah, the Pope didn't like this one too much. The last one is Underbound. And I will say, I know you have played this game. Or at least experienced this game.
Oh, wait. Is this Undertale?
No, Underbound is the joke review.
Oh.
So
Oh.
it is like Undertale.
Oh.
I can say that I made the same joke with this game, but I called it Earthboundertale instead of Undertale. Any guesses?
No, I'm stumped.
All right, so we'll go back through them and see. First one was the, as Humar Widow put it there, traumatic menuing. Whenever a menu goes on forever and ever. Matt Pat says the Pope didn't like this one. The last one is Underbound, the game. Anybody in the chat got it that might have played it or know about it? All right. We'll give, well, see, I don't know how long the delay is, so I don't want to give too long of a stall here. The game is Omori. Omori is the one. Yes. So you can understand why the Pope wouldn't have enjoyed this one quite as much as Undertale, which was given twice. And yeah.
That did not even cross my mind. Yep. I watched the playthrough of Omori, but I have not played Omori.
Well, there you go. I knew you had experienced it in some way, shape, or form because we talked about it before. But yeah. The menus in this game are pretty notoriously bad. Any RPG Maker game.
The menus were that bad.
Yeah, any RPG Maker game has terrible menus because it's just an archaic system. But people really don't like this game, DGC. This one made me so sad.
Because I like it.
Every now and again,
this game.
I have a pretty thick skin, but every now and again, I will go through game reviews on Backlogged looking for funny ones, and I'll get my feelings hurt. People really don't like this game, and so I picked the funny ones.
Why?
But it's a lot. It's a lot that I will not go into now, but people are not fond of this game. They don't like the story that it tells or the way that it ends or any of the characters or anything. They don't like it. So very funny. I loved this game. I thought it was so good and so impactful and well done, and the vibes are there, but alas, yeah. The Matt Pat one definitely got me. And that is Cryptic Critique. So thank you for playing
Yeah,
along. DGC did not get it this time, but next time, perhaps so.
it broke my streak.
Broke the streak. And speaking of breaking the streak, we are not going to be having
Yes.
at this point in nerd history tonight. I don't have anything for it. But we are going to be getting next into our penultimate. Is this a penultimate segment? I think it might be, which is, of course, this is upcoming releases where DGC and I will be sharing 3 things that are coming out in the next week or so for you to be excited about because we are excited about them. Be sure to drop in the chat if you have any games, TV shows, comic books, events, anything that you're excited for. We'd love to hear about it. But we're going to start with DGC's first one.
So what I'm looking forward to is, of course, the upcoming Switch 2 Direct next week on April 2nd.
I'm so
Very
excited.
excited to learn more about it.
Yeah, if the leak is true, I'm even more excited. But I kind of hope the leak is wrong and that they didn't get everything because I want to know even more things. I'm so excited.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm amped for that. And we will be watching
Yeah,
that one live on Twitch and YouTube. So if you're watching this right now, then you're in the right place to watch it live with us next Wednesday.
Nice.
Very good. My first one is a game called Enzoy. This is a life simulation game where players become gods within the game, allowing them to change everything as they wish and experience endless new stories in various forms of life. This is a new Sims-like game. It is a gorgeous character creator, but it is only coming into alpha. So it is very much still in its early days, but I have already seen somebody make an immaculate Billie Eilish. So it is it's very interesting seeing how ornate they have the character creator, and it does look just like The Sims, but even better. I'm excited for it. I'm curious about it. I haven't played a Sims like in a long time, so I don't know how good I'll be at picking this one up, but I am very, very curious about how it does and how silly of a character I can make. All right, on to DGC's second pick.
So this one, I didn't even know was going to be dropping next week. It's the animated adaptation of one of my favorite manhwas, the beginning after the end. I Yeah, it's a really cool isekai. I just, I'm hoping that is good. Is
Yeah, I've never heard of it. Is it coming to Crunchyroll?
Yes.
Yeah, it's rare that I find one that I haven't heard of, but in all fairness, there are so many anime now, and I can already see how long this title is. And so like I typically, if they have a title that is longer than 3 words, I tune out. I go to another space. I dissociate away from it. But I am curious
Yeah.
that you're curious about it.
Yeah. I think this really has potential of being good. I've seen the latest trailer. Uh, it looks good. It sounds good. I really hope it's good because I really enjoyed this, and I might get me back from like reading because I have not finished reading the manga.
Very good. Well, then I am looking forward to giving it a try and seeing how it goes. Speaking of giving a try and seeing how it goes, my second pick is Atom Fall, which is dropping on Game Pass today, maybe? This is a nuclear disaster has left an area of Britain in tatters. Atom Fall, a new survival action game, will see you explore, scavenge, craft, barter, and fight your way through beautifully recreated scenery in search of answers. So this is a clear Fallout-inspired game that actually looks pretty good. I love Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, and even Fallout 76. I am a fan of all of those games, and I am probably going to try this one to see if it is as good as the games that inspired it. So I will let folks know how it actually plays. I'll probably look at reviews before I do, but it is on Game Pass, so it's kind of a victimless crime if I'm able to give it a try, and I won't lose any money out for trying it. All right. Your last one for us, DGC. I'm very excited about this.
Yes, I'm very excited as well as this for Lazarus, which is a new anime done by the guy who worked on Cowboy Bebop. It'll
Yep.
be launching on Tsunami on April 5th, and then we dropping on streaming services the day after.
Very nice. Yeah, not only is it Bebop's writer and director, the stunt choreography for this anime is being done by the John Wick guy. So it's a
Oh,
double double.
interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. I'm super excited for it. I cannot wait to watch it. You've got two real legends in action kind of teaming up for this. I my only fear with this one, I will tell you, this is my big fear, is I worry that too many people are going to be expecting Bebop. And I feel like
Oh yeah,
we need to go into
that's
this with
fair.
fair expectations of like, we don't know the story. We shouldn't expect it to be the Space Cowboy. This is going to be something different and it's going to be fine at worst. Like, let's expect it to be a fine anime and allow it the time to be a great one, because I'm just so terrified
Mhm.
that we're going to expect it to be an amazing anime. And if it isn't, then we're going to judge it really harshly. So, always my fear, but especially ones whenever they're from esteemed anime directors.
Mhm.
But I will definitely be giving it a try and hopefully writing a nerdy sermon on it, because it's been a while since I've written a nerdy sermon on an anime, and this is the good one. All right, next up is Devil May Cry. The animated series is coming to Netflix, an urban fantasy action adventure game franchise created by Hideki Kamiya, primarily developed and published by Capcom. This series is, of course, being published by Netflix and is being developed by Adi Shankar, who is one of my favorites. I love everything that he does. He did the first season of Castlevania. He also did a pretty underrated, gritty reboot series over on YouTube. He's just a very interesting person that I love to see what he produces. The series centers, of course, on the demon hunter Dante and his efforts to thwart various demon invasions of Earth. Middling reviews so far from the people that have seen it early. I'm not, again, this is kind of like with Lazarus. I'm not expecting this to be a 10. Don't go into this expecting it to be life-changing. I didn't do that with Castlevania either, and I loved Castlevania. So I feel like you got to go into these things with lower expectations, and it'll probably be better than people are giving it credit for. I had no idea that this was by Hideki Kamiya, though. I had no idea that was who made Devil May Cry. I'm very intrigued by
Neither
it
did
now.
I.
Yeah, like what didn't he do? It feels like every time I find a game and he's involved in it somehow, and I'm like, wait, how? How are you involved in every game? But yeah, this is one that kind of threw me to the side, and maybe I'll go back and play the games eventually, because I've always been curious about them, but just never tried them. All right, well, there's our 3 things each, so 6 things to be excited about in the next week. Do let us know if you have anything that you are looking out for or that you are curious about. But those are some good ones. I feel like we got some good picks there already. Good stuff. All right, let's get into our final segment of the show, which is, of course, all right, it's time for our meme of the week, and go ahead and cue up Lizzie's meme, because I won again this week. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to win. I don't mean it. It's not my fault. You guys vote for me. It's not my fault. So this is one that I made based off of a TikTok that I saw, in which somebody was sharing the fire that erupted at Epcot this past week, and somebody in the comments,
Oh
somebody in the comments said the black smoke means they haven't picked a new Mickey yet. We won't know until we see white smoke, which is a reference to the Pope. And so I commented on that, and I said the internet makes it impossible to take anything seriously. This is a tragedy. The fact that there was a fire in a Disney park is so sad, but that's a good comment. It's a good joke. Yeah, so that is the one that won out this week. The way that we give out our meme of the week each week is whoever gets the most upvotes over on our memes and goofs section of our Discord. So if you would like to be considered for meme of the week next week, please stop giving it to me. I don't want it anymore. I don't want to be memed on anymore for always winning. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Then you should go and join our discord.gg/checkpointchurch. Post your memes and goofs, and in the next week, get the most upvotes and be featured on the show. Okay. I can't. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. I have the best memes. It's not my fault. I'm the funniest. I can't help being so funny and just so good and so great all the time. It's truly a curse. It's a curse. It's a bane. What can I say? Yeah, exactly right. Well, as we get towards the end of the show here, DGC guest shout out. Thank you for being here. What would you like to shout out for this week?
just for people to go check out Arlie Noah, as he is streaming Xenoblade and Monster Hunter and raising money for ASON, which is a charity group for autism run by those who have autism.
That is incredible. I love it. Love a charity stream. Love some good work being done. And appreciate you and appreciate everybody hanging out in the chat with us tonight. It's been a good time. This has been Twig, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show delivered live on twitch.tv/checkpointchurch each and every week, keeping your family connected to the world of nerdy news. If you watched this far, you probably enjoyed this one. So remember to give us a 5-star on your podcast app. Click that like button. Recommend the show to all your favorite nerds. Folks, we appreciate everybody that watches the show. Whether you comment, whether you like, whether you lurk, any of those things, we appreciate every form of support. But there are some people that are also supporting us financially, subscribing, becoming members over on YouTube. And we want to give an extra special shout out to those folks. So thank you to people that are subscribed on both Twitch and YouTube, Twilight27 and Nerd Pastor Nate. Thank you to the folks that are subscribed over on Twitch. Maybe 30 Bat, Strombone, Dalek, Wise and Lemur, Sneaky Pig 633, Buish, Perspective, Teeny Christina P, Coyote 42, Joanna the Scribbler, Mindful Marlena, Gobi Church, DGC 121996, and Zando Calrissian. And then over on YouTube to Leanne. Thanks everybody for supporting us in that way. We are a real life ministry and we need financial support to keep going. Is there going to be Twig next week? Yes. Yes, there will indeed be Twig next week. I feel like we've gotten in a good flow. Putting it on Thursday nights was a really good idea because almost always I'm in town on a Thursday. And so it really only comes down to like, if I'm gone for the week, then maybe we won't have Twig. But for the most part, I'm not normally like gone for a long weekend starting on a Thursday. So works out pretty well. But we're going to end the show there with our 3 things that we believe to be true about every single one of you out there. Whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, go to church, don't go to church, hate God, hate church, no matter what. We still believe these 3 things to be true about you. Number 1, that God loves you, like really, really loves you. Number 2, we love you. We want community with you. That's what we're doing here. And then number 3, that you, yes, you matter. You're a person of sacred worth. The world is a better place. Why? Because you are in it. Folks, with that, and until the next time that I see ya, be well. Bye-bye.
Bye.